Well, good morning. If you have ever thought about fostering, or if you've ever just journeyed through infertility, give me a thumbs up on the bottom of your screen. I'm your host, Melissa Corkum, and I am the founder of the Laugh More, Yell Less Challenge for Moms. You can find out more at thecorkboardonline.com/challenge. And today I am joined by my guests, Roman and Lindsay. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So we're going to talk a little bit about your guys' just personal journey. Starts with some infertility and lands you guys being foster parents, and it's an interesting story. And I have a heart for adoption and foster care. 4 of our 6 kids came to us through adoption. But just start at the beginning. How'd you guys meet?
So we met online on plentyoffish.com. And at the point we met, I don't know where he was at in his journey, but I had it with online dating. It wasn't working, I wasn't finding anyone, and I decided to cancel my account, and he was one of the last messages that I had sent, and just as I was about to hit that cancel button, he had wrote back. So I kept it on for a few more weeks as we talked. We exchanged numbers, and then met in person. And before I even left the parking lot, he asked where he wanted to go, listed a bunch of fancy places, and I was still skeptical because of the online dating battle. So I said, let's just go to Buffalo Wild Wings. I don't want to go, this probably isn't going to work out between us. I don't want to go anywhere fancy or spend a lot of time on makeup or hair. Let's just go to Buffalo Wild Wings. And that was our...
All right, so what was going on your side of the dating app, Roman?
Well, I worked at a corporate role doing digital marketing, and the commute was about an hour, a little over an hour. So with all the other stuff I was doing, it seemed like a good fit. It was 2012, so the dating scene in terms of online wasn't as popular with all the apps now, but I kind of gave it a shot, and then like she said, we started talking and went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and I guess that's where the
that's
magic
real life
happened.
though, right? Like every day is not the big fancy date and the makeup and all that stuff. So I always feel like if you can meet and like in your real self and like you guys still want to keep talking, then that's probably a good indication, right?
So it's funny. So now for every anniversary, that's where we go. That's our nice anniversary dinner. We go back to where it all began.
Well, there's value in those memories, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about the actual price on the menu. So once you guys settled down, got married, what was your vision for having a family? Did you guys want a big family? How did you guys grow up with lots of siblings, or what was your thought coming into that?
I only had one biological sibling, and then several step-brothers and sisters. But I knew I wanted a big family. I remember sending him pictures of big SUVs. I think the Ford Flex came out around that time, and I was like, this is perfect. We can have 7 kids and everything. And he said, calm down. We'll have kids, but not that many. And even when we bought our first house, it was a 3-bedroom house, and we said, okay, this is perfect. We'll have a playroom here, and we've got drawers for all of the sippy cups and things, and bedrooms, and a pool in the backyard. So we knew, I think I wanted at least 3 kids. But we knew we wanted kids.
Well, and you're headed into education, so
Yes.
You've always loved working with kids.
Yes, yeah. So I'm in school right now. I've got about another 2 years before I become a special education or elementary education teacher. So we both are really hands-on with children and enjoy working with them and being around them. But definitely being parents was something
So
that we
7
wanted.
was not your number, Roman.
7 was not my number. I have one brother. In terms, I think I'm good with kids. Sometimes she thinks, she puts in a lot of work, but they kind of gravitate to me. Even
You're the
though,
fun dad.
Yeah. But I mean, my parents were together. They got divorced 10 years ago, but my dad, even when they were together, wasn't that active. So back in the day when I was little, I told myself, if I get the chance, I want to, create a better experience, and I know how it affected me when I was younger. So I think being hands-on and doing all these things and actually caring and being there has a big impact on biological kids or adoptive and foster kids as well.
Yeah. So walk me through what that journey was like. You guys have shared with me that you walked through a journey of infertility. You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we tried to start our family naturally, and that wasn't working. And I think for a little while there was some we kind of knew something was wrong, but you don't want something to be wrong. So I think we kind of were a little bit naive about it and didn't tell anyone, didn't tell friends or family, embarrassed that things weren't working out. So for a while we hid behind we don't want kids right now. We really love traveling and doing all the fun things, and we did. We traveled everywhere, and that was a lot of fun. But we finally decided to seek help. So we are still patients under the care of RMA and J, and we have a great team of doctors and nurses and people that do truly care, but we started with them. And I have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it's something that is fairly common, but it's just difficult to naturally get pregnant. So we went the route of IUIs, and that failed for us. And I think that having to see a fertility doctor was already enough of a step, and those first 2 procedures is one thing, but we were okay. There wasn't really a problem because it wasn't IVF. You know, like we weren't going to be those people that needed IVF to start a family, so we were still okay. And then we needed IVF. So it was a different ball game. The drugs were terrible, hormone injections, a lot of them he had to give to me.
Yeah, I hate needles, so I mean, she's bearing the brunt of that, but still, it's really painful.
Yeah. So our doctors were very aggressive with the medicine that we started. So we retrieved 27 eggs during egg retrieval, and then after you do the testing and all of which is out of pocket, we stopped counting our expenses when we hit 6 figures out of pocket. And we just didn't want to know anymore after that what we were spending on any of this, and that was after insurance had already paid their part. But we had all of them tested to make sure that genetically everything was okay, and then they went into cryopreservation. So we, up until this point, have done 5 transfers, and all of them were unsuccessful. So we have 9 embryos left, and we want to try again. It's just hard. You want to stay positive for it, but it's a lot.
You're so brave. I know, it's a lot. It's a grief every time. It's a grief process. It's a big loss, and there's a lot of science involved, but there's no guarantees.
Yeah, and that's one of the things he would say too. The doctors say in a perfect situation, you're still only at a 66% chance that it will be successful, and we were on all of the right medicines and drugs, and it still wasn't working, and that's what he was frustrated. He was like, I'm not taking 66% as an okay answer. There needs to be more.
That's not really a passing grade. I mean, it's barely passing in school, right?
Barely.
It's not quite.
Yeah, and after each thing, you kind of regroup with the doctor, and the doctor basically says, I don't know what happened. I mean, it should have worked, which is science, and I don't want to really necessarily hear at that time when we just had a miscarriage, I don't know why it didn't work, it should have worked. I'd like to try this, that, and the other. So she had every procedure under the sun after that for testing. Maybe it's something we missed, that or the other. So at this point, I think we ran the gambit of everything it could have been. So now it's just one of those things where it's the 66%, and we're kind of fighting against to get into that percentile.
Yeah. What's that emotional journey been like, and what would you say to parents who are kind of in the middle of that in terms of the support piece?
Oh, it's tough. It's tough to stay positive, but just trying to stay positive. I mean, our families are very supportful, very supportive. So were a lot of our friends, but at the end of the day, I mean, there's never really a right thing that you can say or do or offer to someone. And a lot of times what happens is you put on that brave face outside, but behind closed doors, it's awful. It didn't work because you gave me the shot in the wrong spot, or, you place that blame.
It's human, right?
Yeah,
we want a reason, we want an answer. Robin, what are the wrong things to say?
During that time, anything.
Yeah, I mean, from the male perspective, I think most guys would say that they kind of harden up. Like, you're feeling it inside and you're trying to be there for your partner, but you're not necessarily expressing it the way they want you to. And then they could think that, you're not caring, or you're just taking kind of a passive role in the grieving. Especially the last 2 actually miscarriages happened on Christmas for us, like back-to-back Christmases. So that holds like a negative light now for that holiday, and it's hard because you automatically correlate it on that day to that event. So I think it's tough, and I think you should be a united front during that time, because if you're not, it can cause a big rift in your relationship, and it's hard to kind of come back from that, and especially at 5 times time again.
Yeah. What would you guys say are the things that you have done practically, intentionally, the practices that keep you guys strong, even when you might be grieving with different personalities and different styles, different processes?
We've just prayed a lot about it. Honestly, I mean, we're religious, but we don't always make it to church every Sunday. We certainly don't have our Bible open on the dining room table, but we pray about it a lot. And if there's been one reoccurring theme the past 5 years that we've been married, coming up on 6 years, is that everything does truly happen for a reason. So if it weren't for our struggles with infertility, we would have never became foster parents. And that is something that's very active in our lives right now. So we're very hopeful still that it will work. We don't know when we will try again. I think it's getting over that hump of calm down and have more faith that it will work. While still caring for other children and having to do, all of those parental roles. And I mean, even the last time that it had failed and we'd miscarried, we had 2 kids in our home that still, their needs as a parent, their needs still come first. Where you can't just sit in bed and cry all day. You have kids that you love and have to take care of. So remaining hopeful and understanding that if not this, then something else. I mean, we would love to be biological parents more than anything on the face of the earth, but we know that if it doesn't happen, then it's for a good reason.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a beautiful story that does include you being parents to some very special kids. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will dive into the world of foster care.
Powered, delicious, and great on the go. And that's perfect for me.
Thanks, Liz.
A woman without a lot of time.
Whether you're a gourmet cook or just want to eat like one, visit Rostelli Market Fresh, your home for the freshest, locally sourced ingredients to please everyone who loves great food. Our organic meats, quality seafood, and free-range poultry are cut fresh to order. Chefs create culinary-inspired prep foods made fresh every day, which pair nicely with our vast selection of fine wines and spirits. Choose from handmade pastas, artisan cheeses, organic produce, and grocery items, all from the finest purveyors. Rostelli Market Fresh, from our family to yours.
Welcome back. So again, I have Roman and Lindsay here with me today, and they've been kind enough to just open up and share their story, not just about infertility, but foster care. So tell me about that journey. What happened? Where did that conversation come from in that door to foster care?
Most of our crazy ideas
of adoption and foster care conversations is with mom.
Yeah. I had a friend who I went to school with, and her husband also struggled to conceive naturally, and I saw that they became foster parents, and I think I put the idea in, kind of just slipped it in very nonchalant over dinner one day, and kind of got shut down and closed the door to that and said, okay. And then while we were kind of in the thick of our infertility, we looked at adoption overseas, and a lot of those adoption agencies would not even talk to us if we were trying to become foster parents or conceive naturally. So the adoption route got shut down for us. So I said, hey, foster care, remember that? And we were kind of both iffy about it because we thought we genuinely would not be able to love another person's child. We could care for them and keep them safe and happy, but I knew there was no way on the face of the earth I could truly love a stranger's children.
Yeah.
So he entertained me like he does for most ideas. And we went to the orientation, and I think that was when we kind of really saw the need. And we went from there.
Well, thanks for being honest just about some of your reservations, because I think you're saying the things that a lot of people are thinking. Roman, what were your reservations going into foster care?
She presents a lot of ideas to me in terms of we should do this or try that. And I think it's just kind of the negative things in the back of your mind. So we don't have time for this. Can we take care of the kids? What situations they're coming from? And at the time, I had a commute, so we can't devote that time like we discussed in terms of me being remote. So I'm an access to drop everything I'm doing and pick the kids up or take them to court or this and that. And I think that one of the concerns was that the time, if we can really devote the time and be there for them.
So what changed your mind?
I think just attending that first session and hearing the things that they were talking about in the Pride training, and even going over a lot of the psychology behind it and saying, what these kids are going through, but they're still longing for their parents, and we're at a shortage of good homes, and then, hearing things that the division does provide, where we are locally, it's called Child Care Connection. So daycares are paid for, and there's transportation back and forth to visitation with their biological parents. And so it was one of those things that we said, okay, maybe we can do this and still have a life. So everything that we kind of do, we say, okay, we'll try it. If it doesn't work out, we'll just back away from it, but we'll try it, we'll give it a shot. So we did. It took us a little over a year to get licensed. We have the most amazing friends and family who were sending us everything from diapers that weren't used to pieces of furniture, clothing, everything under the sun to really help us set that space up and get prepared, if you can ever really be prepared for a child or a foster child.
Especially a last-minute placement of a child.
Yeah, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, we wanted one child.
We were very adamant. We only wanted
younger
one.
child, and we got a call for two, and we were kind of told if they can't get placed with you, you're kind of at the bottom of the list, and we would have to split them up. And then we, said to each other, they're that young. Only thing they really have is each other, because they were being removed and replaced from another foster home.
Mm-hmm.
It was too much for the foster parent at the time, so we said we can at least try it. You know what I mean? What's the worst that can happen?
Try it, yeah.
Yeah, and I put the worker on hold, and I said to him, can we really take two kids right now? And he said, no, we can't. And I said, okay. I said, can we really be the reason these kids are separated? And he said, no, we can't. So less than 24 hours, we ran out to Walmart, bought a second bed and some clothes, and less than 24 hours later, we had kids show up at our front door. And
Wow.
It wasn't at all what we thought it was going to be at first, but
So what surprised you about that first placement?
I think just a lot of the misconception. And I think we got into foster care for the right reasons, for the wrong reasons, I'm not sure, but just for reasons. We want to become parents, a mom and a dad, and foster care is not an adoption agency, and we understand that. So we are.
It's not a straight road to becoming parents
Right, it's
by
not.
any sense of the imagination.
Right. So we are foster to adopt. So if a child becomes in the situation that they do need a forever home, absolutely we'll be there for them. But we do support reunification. We are a resource to the division. But they kind of get you, So they tell you, the phone call we got was that these children would most likely be heading towards adoption. So you hear that, and it's bittersweet. You get excited, but very sad for them in their situation at the same time. And the kids got dropped off. They were cute. They were lovable. And then 2 or 3 hours later, the temper tantrum started, and they were naughty. I had an almost 3-year-old telling me he was going to kick my you-know-what and screaming, and I cried myself to sleep for almost a week and said we made a mistake. This isn't working out for us. We're not cut out to be foster parents. This is too much. And then, I don't know, a switch flipped, I think, in the older of the two children, and they became our best friends. They were our babies. They were our kids.
Yeah, and you guys have a really cute picture. You guys did a vow renewal.
We did.
The kids were able to be there. So we have that to show.
Yep, so that
Beautiful.
was, our anniversary is May 17th, so the vow renewal was May 19th. And they were able to be there. And this was about 10 days actually before they got reunified. So it was bittersweet. We didn't know it at the time. We knew that reunification was right around the corner, but all of our family and friends and everyone that was close enough, to us, was able to see them and not say their goodbyes, but have a last time to see them.
Yeah, so hard.
Yeah.
What do you wish people had told you, or what kind of support do you wish you would have had that first week when you were crying yourself to sleep and you were like, gosh, what did we do? What have we done? What would have been helpful?
I don't know if it was wishing. I think I would have rather had like a scared straight approach in Pride training rather than got, a little bit like, butterflies and rainbows.
Yeah.
I think it would have prepared a little bit more in terms of the situation. And a lot of the times, workers have a lot of cases. So if you are a good foster parent and there aren't any homes in, any issues within your home, then they're not visiting that
Yeah,
often,
right. Yeah.
and they're not necessarily picking
You're on
up
your
the
own.
phone. Yes, so you have to kind of fend for yourselves. So finding resources, volunteer agencies, there's a lot of agencies in different states and counties that can help you and assist in terms of support and things you may be struggling with, some of the resources. So understanding and having kind of a list, because I think the first time we really found out about different resources was we went to a Christmas party, and we had the boys since June, and we went in, end of
Long
November.
6 months.
Yeah, and they had little booths for like all of the different, options, and all of these options are free and,
And at that point, we
available
had it
to
figured
you.
out. We were
No, you were
pros,
like, guys,
you know?
where were you 6 months ago?
Yeah, so understanding what your resources are and truly having people help and not thinking that you're alone, and because at that point you really like start giving up, start struggling with stuff, because some situations and some of the placements you get are oftentimes very challenging. So it sometimes makes you reevaluate the decision you made.
Yeah. I talk to parents a lot about that, is that resource finding process feels almost impossible when you're in the middle of it, when you're not sleeping through the night, when the behaviors seem like they're ruling your world. And so if you have some lead time, as you're going through training, as you're preparing for a first placement, whether it's an adoption or a foster situation, talk to people who have been there, figure out which phone numbers you should have already had on
Yes.
speed dial, whether it be a speech therapist or a daycare or an occupational therapist or a mental health worker or a social worker or the support agency or whatever it is, and figure all that out ahead of time while you still
Yeah.
can think and have a little bit of your sanity in place.
Yeah. I mean, I think the misconception from outsiders, from those non-foster parents, is so our age range is 0 to 6, and we've had 14 children live with us now in the last just over a year and a half, but we've never gotten a newborn baby. So I think sometimes when someone brings a newborn baby home from the hospital, there is that, let me come over and help you with your laundry and bringing over that pan of lasagna. But, when you have a 6-year-old show up and live with you, or a 2 and a 3-year-old, you're still first-time parents, and we have 2 that are living with us now, and we had a 3rd that was with us. We've got a picture somewhere, a Christmas picture
Christmas
with all
picture,
3
yeah.
of them. And with every child that comes to you, you're a parent for the first time all over again, because every child has its own set of baggage and issues, and
It's a new relationship, right?
Yep, you have to relearn what makes them tick, situations they're coming from, what triggers them in a positive and negative light. So it's like learning to parent each individual child or set of children that come in differently, because they react and deal with things differently, and the things they need may be different also.
Yeah. What would you tell people thinking about this process? What would you want them to know?
So foster care in general, I tell almost everyone that if I knew what I now know about foster care, the system, the children, the heartache, I would have never gotten involved. But because we've experienced that, and because we have gone through all of that, I don't know that we'll ever be able to stop. I don't know that we'll ever be able to close our home. We have so many people write us and tell us that the children are so lucky and so blessed to be with us, and that we're saints, and I appreciate the sentiments, but we don't do it for that. We do it for the children, and I think at the end of the day, that's what it's for. I mean, our heartache, the broken toys, the car seats, the cars that have been thrown up on and spit up on, that's all just small pieces of the puzzle and the hurdle, but I feel like that the kids need us, and not like this superhero that we swoop in and try and save everyone, but just do it. I mean, the hardest part is the heartache, but it was a good thing. I mean, losing our boys was the hardest thing either one of us has ever had to go through. And it's almost a year later, and we're not okay with it yet. It still hurts. We're grieving parents. We lost our kids, but I would take that heartache 100 times over again just to have had that year with them.
Yeah, yeah. How can people connect with you guys if they want to, you know, ask you questions, or maybe they are feeling alone and they can connect and they feel like they would want to connect with you, like, you know, have a Me Too moment. You know, there's so much support, right, in having people who understand and can intimately say, gosh, I empathize with what you're going through. So how can people reach out to you?
So my Instagram is Lindsay Prokophuk, and you can find me on Facebook as well.
Yeah, if you Google my first and last name, you can probably find me on any
it's
social.
probably only one, Ronan.
Yeah,
right?
there are more, but I think I'm the top one in the world right now. But anywhere you can message me on any social platform, I can get back to you. I try to put on a lot of content in terms of the stuff we do with the kids, a lot of like advocacy stuff. So any questions you have, I'm happy to.
And you're a great dad support, which there's not as many vocal foster and adoptive dads in the space.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for the work that you're doing, for your big
Thank
hearts, and for being willing to walk through the really, really hard things for a bigger purpose. So I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.